My husband ignored my calls all day. He came home close to 1 a.m., smiling like nothing happened. Then he said he slept with his female boss and didn't regret it. I said nothing, just finished my dinner quietly. The next morning, when he woke up expecting breakfast and coffee, he got something else that ended everything. Liam's phone is probably dead, I told myself after the 8th ignored call. He's in meetings, I reasoned after the 15th. There's traffic, I whispered after the 25th. By the 30th call at 12:30 a.m., I'd run out of excuses and had started planning his funeral. Not literally, just the death of who I thought he was. When Liam finally came home, reeking of expensive perfume and cheap decisions, he didn't apologize for the ignored calls. Instead, he smiled like a man about to share good news and told me about Brooke, his boss, and how he'd spent the day exploring her office, her car, and her hotel room with enthusiasm. If you believe no one should have to tolerate 30 ignored calls from their spouse, please consider subscribing. It's free and helps us share these important stories. Now, let's continue. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up to that morning when I still believed in 15 years of marriage. 6:30 a.m. My alarm went off same as always. Liam didn't stir. He never did. Not until his own alarm at 7 o'clock. I slipped out of bed and padded to the kitchen, starting the gourmet blend coffee he loved. 2 sugars, never cream. The smell filled our house like it had every morning since we'd moved in 10 years ago. By 7:15, I had his breakfast ready. 3 scrambled eggs with sharp cheddar. He hated mild cheese, said it was pointless. Whole wheat toast with real butter spread just right. Not too much, not too little. The kind of precision you only achieve after years of practice of caring about someone's smallest preferences. "Morning, beautiful," Liam mumbled when he finally made it downstairs, his hair still sticking up on one side. He kissed my cheek while reaching for his coffee, a choreographed move we'd perfected without trying. "Don't forget it's Tuesday," I reminded him, pointing to the calendar on the fridge. "First Tuesday of the month, date night, our tradition for the past decade." "Wouldn't miss it," he said, but he was already scrolling through his phone. "Brooke's got me in meetings all day, but I'll be home by 8 o'clock. Brooke Whitlock. 5 months she'd been his boss, and already her name came up more than mine at our dinner table. She was brilliant, he said, innovative, pushing the team to new heights. I'd met her once at the company picnic, designer heels in grass, typing on her phone while others played volleyball, complimenting my potato salad with a smile that never reached her eyes. "She's intense," Liam had said that first week, "but I'm learning. So much." The late night started gradually. First, just Thursdays for team building, then Tuesdays for strategic planning. By month 2, any night could be a Brooke night. He'd come home at 11 o'clock, 11:30, sometimes midnight, smelling wrong. New air fresheners at the office, he explained when I'd mentioned the cologne change. Brooke had them installed. Some productivity study she read. We'd worn the same scents for 15 years. Him. Woody aftershave I bought every Christmas. Me vanilla body spray from a common drugstore. Suddenly, he smelled like something from a department store I'd never shop in. Then came the phone password. I'd reached for it one night to set our alarm. Something I'd done hundreds of times. "What's your passcode?" "Oh, just use yours," he'd said, taking it from me. "Company policy. Brooke is implementing new security protocols." I should have known then, but 15 years of trust makes you stupid. After Liam left that morning, I went through my own routine. Shower, sensible librarian clothes, yogurt with granola. I managed our local branch, 20 employees, thousands of books, endless community programs. Not glamorous like Brooke's corporate world, but fulfilling. My phone buzzed at lunch. Sarah, my sister, coffee tomorrow. I'm near your library at 2. I'd agreed, not knowing she'd spend that coffee lecturing me about Liam. Sarah was a partner at Weston and Stone. Saw divorces all day. Probably couldn't help seeing problems everywhere. But when we'd met the previous week, she'd been more direct than usual. He missed your birthday dinner, Evelyn. Big presentation at the Grandview Towers bar, because I saw his car there during my client meeting. Maybe he was meeting clients. She'd grabbed my hand across the table. Check your joint accounts. Just check them. I hadn't, because checking meant doubting, and doubting meant admitting something I wasn't ready to face. That Tuesday, the last normal Tuesday, I'd left work early. 3 stops for ingredients. Liam's mother's lasagna recipe required specific ricotta, exact meat ratios, perfect seasoning. I'd spent 2 hours layering it just right, getting the edges crispy how he liked. The wedding china came out. Ivory with silver edges, plates we'd registered for when forever felt guaranteed. Beeswax candles, not the cheap grocery store ones. The green dress from our anniversary, the one Liam said, made my eyes look like emeralds. At noon I texted, "Don't forget our night." His response, a thumbs up for our decade-old tradition. I told myself he was busy. Brooke probably had him swamped. 8 p.m. came and went. The lasagna was perfect. 8:30, running late. I texted. 9 o'clock, no response. Lasagna back in the oven. 9:30, I opened wine, then poured it back. The candles kept burning. 10 o'clock, another text. Everything okay? By 11 o'clock, I'd blown out the candles and accepted what I'd been denying for months. The kitchen smelled like wasted effort and dying traditions. The empty chair across from me might as well have had Brooke's name on it. That's when the real calling started. Not casual check-ins, but insistent worried calls. The kind a wife makes when her husband could be in an accident or in someone else. Each unanswered ring felt like a small betrayal. By call 30, I wasn't worried anymore. I was planning. Not revenge, not yet. Just restructuring my understanding of the last 15 years. The expensive perfume hit me before Liam even fully entered the house. Not his cologne, not mine. Something floral and aggressive. The kind worn by women who take what they want. Long day at the office, I asked, my voice steadier than my hands. He grabbed a beer, didn't even look at the cold lasagna on the counter. You could say that. Then came the words that shattered everything while I sat there. Fork in hand, his mother's lasagna growing colder on the wedding china we'd picked out when we thought we knew what marriage meant. The fork clattered against the plate as I set it down. Liam was still talking, still describing his day with Brooke like he was recounting a vacation. My phone sat between us on the counter, screen dark, holding the evidence of 30 attempts to reach him. 30 times I'd needed to hear his voice, but I had to understand how he got here first. At 7:15 p.m., I'd made the first call. Traffic on Tuesday was always heavy downtown. Liam complained about it constantly. The phone rang 5 times before going to voicemail. His recorded voice, cheerful and professional. "You've reached Liam Carver. Leave a message." I didn't leave one. He'd see the missed call. Figure I was checking in about dinner. The lasagna had just gone into the oven for its final browning, filling the house with the smell of home. 7:45 came without a return call. Unusual, but not alarming. Brooke probably had him trapped in one of her famous quick sync meetings that lasted hours. At 8:30, When his empty chair stared back at me across the candlelit table, I called again. This time, it rang only twice before being sent to voicemail. Declined. My chest tightened slightly. Liam never declined my calls. Even in meetings, he'd let it ring out naturally. 9 o'clock call. My voice was light when his voicemail picked up. Hey, just checking if you're okay. Dinner's ready when you are. By 9:30, the concern was real. For calls now, each one building a knot in my stomach. I walked to the living room window, peering out at our empty driveway. The Johnstons across the street were having dinner, their dining room window glowing warm. Normal people having a normal Tuesday. The fifth call at 9:45 made me feel foolish. Was I becoming one of those wives? The ones who couldn't give their husband space? But we had plans. Sacred plans. First Tuesday plans that had survived job changes, family deaths. Even that year, Liam had pneumonia. 10:30, calls 6 and 7 happened back to back. My fingers were starting to shake as I dialed. Not from anger yet, just confusion mixed with the first bitter taste of fear. Car accidents happened. Heart attacks happened to men Liam's age. All sorts of terrible things happened while wives waited with cooling dinners. By 11 o'clock, I was scrolling through our text messages, looking for clues I'd missed. The pattern jumped out immediately. In meetings, 20 times in the past month. Brooke needs this project finished. 10 times. Don't wait up. 7 times, including last Tuesday when he promised to help my mother move her heavy dresser. Sorry, Ev. He texted at 10:30 that night. Brooke called an emergency strategy session. Tomorrow. Tomorrow never came. Mom hired movers instead. Too polite to complain, but disappointed in a way that made me defensive of a husband who didn't deserve it. Call number 15 at 11:45. My hands were definitely shaking now. The lasagna had long since been removed from the oven, sitting on the stove top like an accusation. I found myself bargaining with the universe. Let him be okay, and I'll never complain about Brooke again. Let him answer, and I'll forget about the cologne, the passwords, the late nights. The phone stayed silent. At 12:15 a.m., between calls 20 and 22, I opened our laptop. Liam's email was still logged in. He never remembered to sign out. The subject lines from Brooke filled his inbox. Meet you on this. Can you stay late? Quick drink to celebrate. Quick drink. Plural activities disguised as singular professional needs. 12:30 a.m. brought an unexpected interruption. My phone rang. Not Liam, but Mrs. Rodriguez from next door. Relief and disappointment crashed together. Evelyn, dear, is everything all right? Her voice carried that particular concern of nosy neighbors who actually care. I noticed Liam's car hasn't been in the driveway much lately. He's been working late. The lie came automatically. Oh, that explains it, though. I did see him last week at 3 a.m. coming home. Scared me half to death. I thought someone was breaking in. Poor thing returning from the hospital at that hour. My blood chilled. The hospital. Well, I assumed. Where else would someone go at that hour? Is your mother okay? My mother was perfectly fine. I'd had lunch with her 5 days ago. She's good. Thanks for checking, Mrs. Rodriguez. Call 25 at 1 a.m., 27 at 1:15 a.m. Each ring echoed in the quiet kitchen. The candles had burned down to stumps, wax pooling on the good tablecloth. I was pacing now, a path from sink to table to refrigerator and back. My wedding ring caught the light with each pass, sending little rainbows across the wall. 15 years since Liam had slipped it on my finger, promising to answer whenever I called. 1:30 a.m. Call 28. I left a message. This time, my voice carefully controlled. Liam, I'm worried. Please, just let me know you're safe. That's when my phone buzzed with a notification that wasn't from Liam. MasterCard. New charge of $500 at Grandview Towers Restaurant. 9:47 p.m. My hands stopped shaking. Everything stopped shaking. The world went very still and very clear. I opened the app with steady fingers. There it was, itemized like evidence. Grandview Towers Restaurant, table for two. Champagne, not the house brand, but Dom Perignon. 2 entree steak and salmon. Dessert. Chocolate souffle for two. For two. While I'd been warming and rewarming a lasagna made from his mother's recipe, Liam was having champagne and souffle. The same restaurant where Sarah had seen his car, the place he was supposedly never going to be. Call 29. At 1:45 a.m. I didn't expect an answer anymore. The sound of his voicemail had become familiar as a funeral hymn. But I called anyway, needing to complete the ritual, needing to give him every chance to not be who I now knew he was. 1:55 a.m. Call 30, the last one. I sat at the kitchen table, the cold lasagna, my only company, and dialed one final time. As it rang, I looked at my reflection in the dark window. The woman staring back wasn't the worried wife anymore. She was someone else, someone who had spent 6 hours transforming from concerned to suspicious to certain. When Liam's voicemail picked up for the 30th time, I didn't leave a message. I just sat there, phone silent in my hand, wedding ring feeling heavier than it had in years. The kitchen clock ticked toward 2 a.m., each second bringing Liam closer to home, closer to whatever excuse he'd prepared. But I already knew the truth. The 30 calls weren't ignored because he couldn't answer. They were ignored because Brooke Whitlock was more important than 15 years of First Tuesdays. The champagne toast at 9:47 p.m. was his real priority. The souffle for two was his actual date night. I straightened the wedding china, dumped the cold lasagna in the trash, and waited. Not like a worried wife anymore, but like a woman preparing for war. The kitchen clock showed 1:58 a.m. when I heard Liam's key in the lock. I stayed seated, my hands flat on the table, breathing steady. The door opened to whistling, actually whistling The Way You Look Tonight by Sinatra. The irony would have been funny if it weren't so cruel. Liam walked in like he just closed $1 million deal. His tie hung loose, shirt untucked on one side. That particular dishment that comes from hasty redressing. But it was his smile that stopped me cold. Not guilty, not apologetic, but satisfied. The smile of a man who'd gotten exactly what he wanted. He went straight to the refrigerator without even glancing my way. The beer bottle hissed open. He took a long pull, then finally noticed me sitting there in the dim light. Still up. He leaned against the counter, casual as Sunday morning. Thought he'd be in bed by now. It's Tuesday. My voice came out steadier than I felt. First Tuesday. Oh, not even a flinch of recognition. Right. Sorry about that. Got caught up. Caught up like our decade-old tradition was a dentist appointment he'd forgotten to cancel. Long day at the office. I asked the words careful and measured. You could say that. He took another sip of beer, then set it down with the kind of deliberation that meant something big was coming. Actually, Evelyn, since you're up, we should talk. My spine straightened. Okay. Liam rolled his shoulders back and his whole demeanor shifted. Not to shame or guilt, but to something else entirely. Pride, maybe, or relief. I slept with Brooke today. The words landed between us like dropped glass. Sharp, dangerous, impossible to take back. I waited for more, an explanation, an apology, something. Instead, Liam continued like he was giving a presentation multiple times, actually. In her office after everyone left, then in her car in the parking garage, then at the Grandview Towers Hotel. He paused, meeting my eyes directly. And Evelyn, I don't regret a single second of it. My hand found the fork beside my plate. The cold lasagna was still there, congealed and pathetic. I took a bite, chewed slowly, tasted nothing, but made myself swallow. That's it. Liam's voice pitched higher. That's your reaction. I took another bite. The lasagna needs more oregano. His face twisted in confusion. I just told you I heard you. Another bite. The mechanical motion of eating kept my hands busy, kept me from throwing the plate at his head. You had relations with your boss in 3 different locations. Very thorough. Evelyn, what would you like me to say? I set down the fork, carefully dabbed my mouth with a napkin. Congratulations on your successful networking. Should I update your LinkedIn? Liam Carver now offering intimate consultations with management. The beer bottle slammed down. I just told you I cheated on you, and you're making jokes. No, I said, taking one more bite. You told me you destroyed our marriage for a woman who signs your paychecks. I'm eating dinner. There's a difference. Liam's carefully prepared speech was crumbling. This wasn't the script he'd rehearsed. He'd expected tears, shouting, maybe thrown dishes. Something dramatic he could work with, apologize through, maybe even spin into being partially my fault. But calm. Calm wasn't in his playbook. You're in shock, he decided, moving closer. Evelyn, we need to process this. I laughed, but it came out sharp. There is no we anymore. You just made that very clear. 3 times clear, apparently. His face flushed. This attitude isn't helping anything. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me try again. I cleared my throat dramatically. Oh, Liam, how could you? Our 15 years meant nothing. Please tell me more about how Brooke's office desk compares to our marriage bed. I'm dying to know the details. Stop it. No, really. Did she compliment your performance review? Give you 5 stars. Employee of the month. You're being childish. And you're being escorted out of my kitchen. I picked up his beer, poured it down the sink. Go upstairs, Liam. Pack a bag. Find a hotel. Maybe the Grandview Towers has a loyalty program now. His jaw clenched. This is my house, too. Your name might be on the deed, but you just forfeited your welcome. Unless you'd like me to call Sarah right now and start proceedings immediately. Liam stared at me like I'd grown another head. This wasn't his Evelyn. His Evelyn would have cried, begged for explanations, asked what she'd done wrong. His Evelyn would have made this easy for him. I'm not leaving, he said, but his voice wavered. We need to talk about this like adults. Adults don't come home at midnight bragging about their affairs. Adults don't destroy 15 years for afternoon hookups. Adults don't. I stopped, took a breath. You know what? You're right. Say the guest room has clean sheets. Liam grabbed his beer bottle, realized it was empty, set it down again. Evelyn, I know. I held up my hand. You had your confession. You got to unburden yourself. Transfer your guilt to my shoulders. But I'm not carrying it. Whatever you thought would happen next, whatever reaction you wanted, you're not getting it. He stood there for another moment, looking lost. This was supposed to be his moment of brutal honesty, his chance to be the bad guy who at least had the courage to confess. Instead, he just looked small and stupid, holding an empty beer bottle while his marriage dissolved in real time. Finally, he turned toward the stairs, his footsteps heavy with confusion rather than remorse. He paused at the doorway. We'll talk in the morning when you've had time to process. Sure, I said, already pulling out my laptop. Sweet dreams. The moment his footsteps faded upstairs, I opened a new spreadsheet. My fingers flew across the keyboard with the efficiency of 15 years of shared passwords and joint everything. The document title typed itself, Project Silent Storm. First column, assets, checking account, savings, investment portfolio, both cars, the house with its conveniently forgotten detail, the mortgage in my name only, thanks to Liam's credit disaster in year 5. Second column, liabilities, Liam's credit card debt, his student loans, his ego, though that last one wasn't technically financial. Third column, action items. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. How was date night? I typed back memorable. Then I opened another message to Sarah. Need the shark, not the lawyer. The shark. 3 dots appeared immediately. That bad. Worse. But I'm about to make it beautiful. My office. 7:30 a.m. Bring coffee and war paint. I smiled. My first real smile in hours. Then I returned to my spreadsheet, adding tabs for documentation, timeline, and my personal favorite. Revenge served at optimal temperature. Liam thought his confession would break me. He thought those 3 locations of infidelity would send me spiraling. But all he'd done was flip a switch I didn't know existed. The one that transformed 15 years of devotion into cold, calculated precision. I worked until 4 a.m. The kitchen quiet except for keyboard clicks and the occasional sound of Liam's snoring drifting down from our bedroom. Sorry, his temporary sleeping quarters. Every password memorized, every account documented, every vulnerability cataloged. By the time I finally closed the laptop, Project Silent Storm was 20 pages of pure organized retribution. Liam had given me 8 hours until morning to process his betrayal. I only needed 6 to plan his complete destruction. The laptop screen glowed 4 a.m. when I finally pushed back from the kitchen table. 6 hours of planning complete. My eyes burned, but my mind was crystal clear. Liam's snoring still drifted down from upstairs. The peaceful sleep of a man who thought confession meant absolution. I started with the money. Our joint savings account showed $55,000. Legally, I could move it. Morally, after his midnight performance, I should have taken it all. I initiated the transfer to my personal account, the one Liam didn't even know existed. Opened 3 months ago when the cologne changed just in case. Transfer complete. For 17 a.m. Next came the credit cards. Liam had 3 supplementary cards on my accounts. I canceled them one by one, effective immediately. The customer service representative, probably used to middle-of-the-night revenge cancellations, didn't even question it. Would you like to remove the authorized user as well? Absolutely. Changes will take effect within 2 hours. By 4:45, I was downloading our entire text history from the cloud. 3 years of messages, including last month's gems, where Liam called Brooke incompetent, Daddy's promotion pet, and my personal favorite. She makes me miss my old boss, who only spoke in sports metaphors. I screenshot everything, organized by date, highlighted the best parts. Liam's own words would be his jury. At 5:30, I started making appointments. 3 different divorce attorneys, all before noon. Sarah would be first at 7:30, but I wanted options. Comparison shopping for divorce lawyers felt like choosing cereal, except this decision would determine my next 15 years. By 6 o'clock, I stood in my kitchen, exhaustion trying to claim me. But I had one more performance to prepare. Liam would wake at 8 o'clock expecting his usual breakfast. Gourmet blend coffee, 2 sugars, 3 eggs scrambled with sharp cheddar, whole wheat toast, lightly buttered. He'd get the breakfast, just not the way he expected. I started cooking at 6:30, making everything perfect. Better than perfect. Restaurant quality eggs, fresh squeezed orange juice, bacon crispy enough to shatter. The kitchen smelled like the best mornings of our marriage when we still liked each other. At 7:15, I sent a text to Chris Dawson, my trainer from the gym. Chris was 6 feet 3 inches, built like a swimmer with the kind of jawline that made married women remember being single. More importantly, he had a wicked sense of humor and owed me a favor after I'd helped him study for his nutrition certification. Want to earn $300 for eating breakfast and looking gorgeous? His response came at 7:20. This sounds like the beginning of either a crime or the best story ever. Just breakfast and maybe some light psychological warfare. Make it bacon, and I'm there by 7:45. At 7:45, while Liam continued sleeping, I changed into my best casual dress, the one that made me look effortlessly put together. Hair done, subtle makeup, the works. If I was serving revenge, I'd look good doing it. Chris arrived at 7:55, and I'd never been happier to see someone. He walked in wearing jeans and a fitted Henley that did wonderful things for his shoulders. "Evelyn, you look like you're about to commit a beautiful crime." "Just serving breakfast." I handed him coffee. "My husband will be down soon. He had a long night informing me about his extracurricular activities with his boss." Chris's eyebrows rose. "And you want me to eat his breakfast, be charming, exist in his space. I can do that." He grinned. "This is already worth more than $300. At 8:01, I heard Liam's alarm. His footsteps upstairs, shower running. The familiar sounds of a man who didn't know his world had already ended. 8:15, Liam's footsteps on the stairs. He walked in wearing his usual Tuesday outfit, already checking his phone. "Smells amazing, babe," he said without looking up. "Oh, it is amazing." I poured orange juice into a glass. "Chris thinks so, too." Liam's head snapped up. Chris sat at the kitchen table in Liam's chair, already halfway through Liam's eggs. "Evelyn," Chris said cheerfully, "these eggs are incredible. You're absolutely too good for him." Liam's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "What? Who is this?" "Liam, meet Chris." "Chris, this is Liam, my soon-to-be ex-husband, who spent yesterday exploring his boss's office space." Chris whistled low, the one who ignored 30 calls. "That's not classy, man." Liam's face went through a spectacular color journey. White to pink to red to purple. "What the hell is this?" "This," I said, hash browns on Chris's plate. "This is consequences with a side of breakfast potatoes. You can't just." Liam stepped toward the table. Chris stood up, all 6 feet 3 inches in of him. "I think she can." Liam backed up, his phone buzzing insistently. He ignored it. "Evelyn, this is insane." "You're being what?" "Vindictive." I refilled Chris's coffee cup. "No. Vindictive would be calling Brooke's husband. Robert Whitlock, right? The cardiac surgeon who thinks his wife is at a medical conference." Liam went pale. "You wouldn't." I pulled out my phone, showed him Robert's contact information already loaded. "I've got screenshots, Liam. Tuesday at 3:47 p.m. You called Brooke insatiable. The same Tuesday you told me you were in budget meetings." Chris took another bite of eggs. Watching like this was premium entertainment. Tuesday afternoon, bold move. Stupid but bold. Liam's phone rang. Brooke's name on the screen. He declined it. You should probably answer that, I said sweetly. She's been calling since 7 o'clock. Something about her husband finding hotel receipts. Liam fumbled for his wallet, pulled out his credit card. I need to that card was cancelled at 4:17 this morning. The blue one was cancelled at 4:22. The emergency visa at 4:26. You'll have to use your personal account. I smiled. The one with $80 in it. The doorbell rang. Perfect timing. Sarah walked in like she owned the place. Powers suit, immaculate briefcase in hand. Morning, Evelyn. Liam. She said his name like it left a bad taste. What's she doing here? Liam's voice cracked. Sarah set her briefcase on the counter, pulled out a folder. My job. Here's your separation agreement. You have 48 hours to respond. I suggest getting a lawyer. This is ambush. No, Sarah said calmly. This is consequence. Also, Brooke Whitlock. She's named in the complaint. Turns out her company has a strict, non-F fraternization policy. It will be interested. Liam's phone rang again. Brooke. This time he answered, stepping toward the hallway. We could all hear her panicked voice. Robert knows he has the credit card statements, the hotel receipts. My father's calling. The company's calling. Liam, what did you do? He looked back at us. Me calm. Sarah professional Chris, still enjoying his breakfast. And I saw it finally hit him. This wasn't a dramatic fight he could win. This wasn't tears he could manipulate. This was calculated, organized, and already in motion. Liam rushed outside with Brooke, still screaming through his phone. Through the window, I watched him pace our driveway, one hand pressed to his forehead, the other gripping the phone like it might save him. Sarah, Chris, and I stood in my kitchen, silent spectators to the beginning of his collapse. I need to go, Liam said into the phone loud enough for us to hear. I'll call you back. He stormed back inside, his face blotchy and desperate. Evelyn, we need to talk alone. No. I picked up my coffee cup, took a measured sip. Chris hasn't finished his breakfast, and Sarah has more papers for you to review. Liam pulled out his phone again, fingers fumbling as he tried calling Brooke back. Straight to voicemail. He tried again. Same result. Having trouble? Sarah asked innocently. He ignored her, switching to his banking app. I watched his face pale as he saw the joint account balance. $1,500. Just enough to keep it open, not enough to matter. They ate him, he muttered, grabbing his keys. I'll just save yourself the trip, I called after him. All 3 cards were canceled hours ago. He spun around. You can't do this. That's joint money. Was Sarah corrected past tense? All perfectly legal, by the way. Liam's phone buzzed with texts. His eyes widened as he read, his thumbs flying across the screen. More texts came through rapid fire. His face went from pale to gray. Problems? Chris asked, helping himself to more bacon. Liam didn't answer. He was too busy calling someone. Mom. His voice cracked like a teenager's. Mom, I need to explain. Even from across the room, I could hear his mother's voice, sharp and disappointed. Evelyn already called me this morning. Liam Michael Carver. How could you? That sweet girl who makes my lasagna recipe better than I do. Who remembers my birthday when you forget? Mom, please. Don't you, Mom, please me? 15 years, Liam. 15 years she put up with you, and this is how you repay her with that woman. He hung up on his own mother. Chris stood stretched. Well, this has been enlightening. Evelyn, those eggs really were incredible. He pulled out his wallet, but I waved him off. Keep it. You earned it just by being here. After Chris left, Liam slumped against the counter. His phone kept buzzing. Texts from coworkers, friends, people who'd already heard. The modern wildfire of gossip spreading faster than a wildfire in peak season. "I have a book club meeting," I announced, checking the time. "Sarah, can you handle things here?" "My pleasure." Liam looked between us. "Book club?" "No." "Evelyn, our life is falling apart." "Your life?" I corrected, grabbing my purse. "Mine is just getting interesting." 30 minutes later, I sat in Bethany's living room, surrounded by 6 women who'd known me since before Liam, during Liam, and now blessedly would know me after Liam. The book lay forgotten on the coffee table. "Honey," Bethany said, pouring wine despite it being 11 a.m. Tell us everything. So I did calmly, factually, even with a touch of humor. The 30 calls, the midnight confession, the breakfast ambush. They gasped at the right moments, anger burning in their eyes like protective mothers. Diane, who worked in Liam's company HR department, nearly choked on her wine. Brooke Whitlock. "Oh, honey, we've had 5 complaints about her already. Inappropriate conduct with subordinates, creating hostile work environment, using company resources for personal activities." "Personal activities?" I asked. "Let's just say the security cameras in the parking garage have been very educational. Your Liam isn't her first office romance. He's just the first one stupid enough to confess to his wife." My phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello, Mrs. Carver. This is Robert Whitlock." The room went silent. I put him on speaker. "Dr. Whitlock," I said carefully, "please call me Robert. I wanted to thank you for the anonymous tip about checking credit card statements. Very illuminating. I don't know what to." "It's fine," he interrupted, his voice surprisingly warm. "I'm not angry with you. You're as much a victim here as I am. More, actually. This is Brooke's 5th affair that I know of. But this time, she chose the wrong couple to destroy." The women around me leaned in closer. "I've already contacted Liam's company," Robert continued. "Sent them some interesting documentation about Brooke's patterns. Did you know she specifically targets married men? It's like a game to her." My stomach turned. "I didn't know that. I've also spoken with my lawyer. He's very interested in collaborating with yours. Brooke doesn't know it yet, but she's about to lose everything. Her father got her that job. You know, he's on the board. Was on the board. He resigned this morning when I sent him the evidence." "Oh, I'm sorry this happened to you, Evelyn. Liam's an idiot, but Brooke, she's a predator. She'll destroy him now that the fun is over. That's what she does. Conquers, then discards." After Robert hung up, the room exploded in conversation. Everyone had opinions, advice, wine to pour, but Diane's word stuck. "You better get home and secure anything valuable. Desperate men do stupid things." I drove home to find Liam's car gone and the front door wide open. Inside, chaos. He'd clearly tried to pack in a hurry. Drawers pulled out, closets ransacked, papers everywhere. But the office door remained locked. I'd changed that lock at 5 a.m. The gaming room he loved was now my craft room. His precious gaming chair replaced with my grandmother's sewing table I'd retrieved from storage. His golf clubs were gone because they'd been donated to charity yesterday. The receipt was indeed on the counter, ready for his tax deduction. I went to our bedroom. His clothes were thrown everywhere, suitcases half-packed, then abandoned. On the bed was a note. "Where are my baseball cards?" I texted Sarah. "He's looking for the signed collection." Her response was immediate. "Safe in my office. Legal leverage." Liam's entire world was unraveling in real time. His credit was frozen. His mother had downed him. His coworkers were choosing sides. And Brooke, the woman he'd destroyed everything for, wouldn't even answer his calls. I sat on my bed, our bed, and felt something I hadn't expected. Pity. Not enough to stop what I'd started, but enough to recognize that Liam had played himself. He'd gambled 15 years on a woman who collected married men like trophies. My phone buzzed. "Liam, where are you? We need to talk." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. I set my phone down on the bed and walked to the window. Liam's car wasn't in the driveway, but I knew where he'd gone. Sunday was inventory day at his office. Skeleton crew, perfect for trying to sneak in and grab his things before Monday's storm hit. He had no idea the storm had already made landfall. My phone rang. "Diane from book club from HR. Evelyn, you need to know what's happening tomorrow. Can you sit down?" I was already sitting. "Tell me." "Liam's key card was deactivated an hour ago. When he arrives Monday morning, security will be waiting. The CEO called an emergency meeting. Robert Whitlock sent them everything. Emails, timestamps, security footage from the parking garage. Security footage, last Tuesday. Liam and Brooke in her car. The camera angle was unfortunately clear. My stomach rolled. Of course there's video. That's not all. Brooke's assistant, Maria, just sent a mass email to the entire company. Subject line, why I'm resigning effective immediately. She listed every affair Brooke has had with subordinates. Liam's number 4. I stood up pacing now. 4. In 2 years, the other 3 were transferred to different departments after things ended. But Liam, he's the first one married, the first one whose wife called Robert Whitlock. Monday came faster than expected. I woke at 6 a.m. to texts from numbers I didn't recognize. Liam's coworkers, people I'd met at company parties, all reaching out with variations of, "I'm so sorry and we had no idea." At 8:15, my phone rang. "Wait, they won't let me in the building," he said, voice high and panicked. "My key card doesn't work. Security says I need to go to HR immediately." Okay, that's all you have to say, Evelyn. They're treating me like a criminal." "No, Liam. They're treating you like an employee who violated company policy. There's a difference." He hung up. 20 minutes later, another call. This time his voice was hollow. They had everything printed, emails, texts, even there was video from the parking garage. I said nothing. 3 executives were waiting. They had the employee handbook highlighted. The sections about supervisor relationships, misuse of company property, creating hostile work environment. My desk is already packed. I see Brooke's gone, too. Her office is empty. They said her father came in at 7 a.m., cleaned it out himself. He's resigning from the board. The father who'd gotten her the job, who'd pulled strings, who'd enabled her behavior for years, finally facing consequences by association. "Evelyn, I need you to understand." And she pursued me. Liam, she pursued you like a cat pursues mice for sport. You were number 4. Silence then. "How did you know that?" "Maria sent an email. The whole company knows." I heard him make a sound. Not quite a sob, not quite a laugh. "Something broken. They want me to sign things. NDAs, severance agreements. They're offering 3 weeks pay if I sign immediately and don't pursue wrongful termination. Take it, but take it, Liam. 3 weeks is more than you deserve, and we both know it." Another call came through. Unknown number. "I have to go," I told Liam. The new caller was unexpected. Andrew Sloan, the CEO of Liam's company. His voice was formal but somehow warm. "Mrs. Carver, I'm calling personally to apologize. What our employees did, what happened under our watch, it's inexcusable." "Thank you. but we're conducting a full investigation. Brooke Whitlock has been terminated, and we're reviewing our policies. Your husband, former husband, he's also being terminated with cause. I understand. We'd like to offer you consideration for your discretion in this matter. We value our reputation. And Mr. Sloan, I don't want your money. I just want this to end. I respect that. But please, if you need anything, references for Liam despite everything or no. Thank you, but no. After hanging up, I decided something. I would go to Liam's office. Not for him, but for me, for closure. I dressed carefully. My best professional dress, navy blue with subtle pinstripes. The one I wore to library board meetings. Hair smooth, makeup minimal but polished. I looked like a woman who had her life together, even if that life was currently being reorganized. The drive to Liam's office took 25 minutes. I'd made it dozens of times, dropping off forgotten lunches, picking him up when his car was serviced, attending holiday parties where Brooke would hold court like a queen while other people's husbands orbited around her. The receptionist recognized me immediately. Her face went through several expressions: surprise, pity, respect. Mrs. Carver, how can I help you? I'm here to collect my husband's personal items. Is that possible? She made a quick call, then nodded. Security will escort you. The security guard, Mike, was someone I'd chatted with at company picnics. His kids used my library's reading program. He walked beside me quietly until we reached the elevator. I'm sorry about all this, Mrs. Carver. You deserved better. Thank you, Mike. The elevator opened onto Liam's floor. It was like walking into a crime scene after the tape had been removed. People stood in clusters whispering. When they saw me, the whispering stopped. I walked through the silence with my head high, greeting people I recognized with small nods. Some nodded back. Others looked away, embarrassed by association. Liam's desk was indeed boxed up. 2 cardboard boxes of 15 years, reduced to office supplies and personal photos. I picked up the framed picture of our wedding, studied it for a moment, then placed it face down in the box. Evelyn, I turned. Maria stood there, Brooke's former assistant, looking simultaneously defiant and exhausted. I'm sorry, she said. I should have warned you. I knew about the others, but I needed this job and it's not your fault. I sent the email about her patterns. The whole company knows now. Good. She blinked, surprised. Brooke called me an hour ago, screaming about loyalty, about ruining her life. I told her she ruined her own life, plus several marriages. Through the glass conference room, I could see what used to be Brooke's corner office, empty now, like a luxury apartment after an eviction. The expensive furniture remained, but everything personal was gone. The awards, the photos with company executives, the designer accessories she'd used to mark her territory. Where's Liam? I asked Mike. Left an hour ago. Was in the bathroom for a while. Then security had to ask him to leave the bathroom. Hiding in the bathroom while his professional life imploded. It was almost too pathetic to be satisfying. Almost. I picked up Liam's boxes, lighter than 15 years should weigh, and walked back through the office. This time, people watched openly, some with sympathy, others with what looked like respect. At the elevator, Andrew Sloan himself appeared. Mrs. Carver. I wanted to apologize in person. He was younger than I had expected, maybe 45, with kind eyes that seemed genuinely troubled. It's not your fault, I said. It happened on my watch. That makes it my responsibility. He paused. Liam was a good employee before this. Fire was Persuas. She found his easily enough. If you need anything. I don't, but thank you. As the elevator doors closed, I saw the office already returning to its whispered conversations. The scandal becoming mythology in real time. By tomorrow, the story would be legend. By next week, company policy. I loaded Liam's boxes into my car and drove home in silence. The weight of what had just happened, the complete professional destruction of two people, should have felt heavier. Instead, I felt oddly light, like I'd finally set down luggage I didn't realize I'd been carrying. My phone buzzed as I pulled into my driveway. Robert Whitlock, Evelyn. I have an unconventional request. Brooke's birthday is Thursday. She made reservations months ago at the Metropolitan, her favorite restaurant. Non-refundable, of course. I thought perhaps you'd join me for dinner. Call it a celebration of freedom. The Metropolitan, the place Liam could never afford, but Brooke treated like her personal dining room. That's 3 days away. Enough time for word to spread. Enough time for them to know we'll be there. I understood immediately. This wasn't about dinner. This was about being seen. What time? 7:30, and Evelyn wore something memorable. Thursday arrived wrapped in drama. My phone had been buzzing all day with texts from people who'd heard about the Metropolitan reservation. Small towns had nothing on corporate gossip networks. I chose a red dress. Not subtle, not safe, but absolutely unforgettable. The kind of dress that said I wasn't hiding, wasn't broken, wasn't ashamed. Liam had texted 6 times asking if the Metropolitan rumor was true. I didn't respond. Robert was already waiting when I arrived, standing by the bar in an impeccable suit. He looked like what he was, successful, established, and completely unbothered by his imploding marriage. "You look stunning," he said, offering his arm. "Shall we give them a show?" The restaurant was packed, and I recognized at least a dozen faces from Liam's company. Phones appeared like weapons, subtle and not so subtle photos being taken. Good. Let them document this. The maitre led us to Brooke's usual table. Center of the room, impossible to miss. Robert pulled out my chair with theatrical courtesy. "Before we order," he said, voice carrying a toast. He raised his water glass, waiting until the restaurant quieted just enough. "To wives who know their worth," he said clearly, "and to husbands who learn too late what they've lost." Someone actually applauded. Just one person, but it was enough. Robert smiled and clinked his glass against mine. "Now," he said quieter, "let me tell you what those two are actually doing right now." He pulled out his phone, showed me a text from his private investigator. Liam had moved into Brooke's guest room after Robert kicked her out of their house. The photo showed Liam carrying a single suitcase into a shabby apartment complex. She's living in a 1-bedroom in Creekside Apartments. Robert said her father cut her off completely, frozen her trust fund pending investigation of moral turpitude. That's actually the legal term. Liam's living on her couch. Guest room is generous. It's a Murphy bed in what she uses as a home office. My investigator says they've been fighting constantly. Apparently, the thrill of sneaking around was the only thing keeping them interested. Our appetizers arrived, the same ones Brooke always ordered. Robert had done his homework. "She called me yesterday," he continued, crying about her career being over. I reminded her that she chose to sleep with subordinates, for of them, that Liam was just the latest in her collection. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Are you at the Metropolitan with that handsome doctor?" Mrs. Rodriguez just showed me a photo from Facebook. The modern speed of humiliation. Instagram stories, Facebook posts, text chains. Liam and Brooke were probably watching their public shaming in real time from her Murphy bed. "How are you so calm about this?" I asked Robert. Because I've been planning my exit for a year. Brooke's affairs weren't a surprise. Liam was just the excuse I needed to finally file. He smiled. Plus, I protected my assets long ago. She'll get the minimum required by law, nothing more. Our entree arrived. Robert had ordered the house special for both of us, something Brooke apparently bragged about discovering. You know what the ironic part is, Robert said, cutting into his fish. She thinks she's some kind of romantic rebel. In reality, she's just a cliché with daddy issues and a personality disorder. Harsh, but probably accurate. Halfway through dinner, my phone rang. Liam's mother. I'm at dinner. I answered. Can I call you back? Oh, honey, I just wanted to say that photo of you in the red dress at the Metropolitan. You look absolutely radiant. That doctor is very handsome. Thank you, Teresa. Also, I sent flowers to your house. The card explains everything. Liam is no longer welcome at Sunday dinners. She hung up before I could respond. Your mother-in-law? Robert asked. Former. And apparently I'm keeping her in the divorce. We both laughed. Real laughter, not the bitter kind. My phone buzzed again. Sarah Liam just called asking about his 401k. I explained the early withdrawal penalties. He actually cried. I showed Robert the text. He raised his glass again. To financial justice. As we were leaving, Robert paused at the door. Oh, I forgot to mention Brooke's apartment. Her car was repossessed this morning. Apparently, Liam's been trying to use her credit cards for groceries. They keep getting declined. How do you know all this? She texts me constantly, begging, threatening, pleading. I don't respond, but I do read them. It's better than Netflix. Outside the Metropolitan, Robert walked me to my car. Thank you for this, Evelyn, for playing along with my little revenge dinner. Thank you for making it possible. One more thing, he said, pulling out an envelope. Liam's final paycheck was mailed to your house, since that's still his address on file. 3 weeks severance. I'd cash it quickly. I drove home to find my mother hosting her monthly garden party. 25 women in my backyard. Wine flowing, voices carrying. I tried to sneak inside, but my mother spotted me. Evelyn, everyone, Evelyn's here, fresh from her dinner at the Metropolitan. The women swarmed, all talking at once. Mrs. Rodriguez, loudest of all, we should start a support group. Wives who won will meet monthly, drink wine, and celebrate leaving terrible husbands. My mother was serving potato salad using Brooke's recipe that she'd brought to last year's company picnic, but somehow better. I added pickles, Mom said proudly. Brooke's version was bland, like her personality. Teresa's flowers were on my kitchen counter. 24 roses with a card. You were always too good for my son. Love always, Mom. As the party continued outside, I sat at my kitchen table and opened the letter Sarah had messengers over Liam's financial summary. The house mine, his 401k decimated by penalties. The car he drove repossessed since it was leased under my credit. Country, club membership canceled. The final line made me pause. Recommend employment urgently. Spousal support calculations begin next month. Liam would owe me support. The unemployed, couch-surfing former executive would have to pay his librarian ex-wife monthly support. I poured myself wine and rejoined the party. The women were still talking, sharing their own stories of survival and revenge. Mrs. Rodriguez was describing her first husband's affair with his secretary. So cliché it was almost boring. How's Liam handling everything? Someone asked. He's living his dream, I said, shacking up with his boss in her one-bedroom apartment. Well, former boss, she got fired too. The group erupted in laughter and fresh rounds of toasting. To karma, to justice, to freedom, to better choices. As the sun set and the party wound down, I stood in my backyard no longer ours, and felt the full weight of victory. The last guest left around 11 o'clock, taking with them the empty wine bottles and stories of survival. I stood alone in my backyard. The string lights Mom had hung, casting soft shadows across the grass. The night was mine now, quiet, peaceful, and completely free of waiting for someone who would never prioritize coming home. 8 months passed like pages in a book I was finally enjoying reading. The library board called me into a meeting on a Tuesday. Another Tuesday, but this one brought promotion, not betrayal. Regional manager for 3 branches, 25% salary increase, and an office with windows that actually opened. You've shown remarkable leadership during a difficult period, the board president said. We need someone with your strength. I almost laughed. My strength had been born from Liam's weakness. Chris still came by the library on Fridays, bringing coffee from the good place downtown. We'd become real friends, the kind without agendas or $300 breakfast performances. You look different, he said one Friday, setting a latte on my new desk. Lighter. Amazing what happens when you drop 200 pounds of dead weight named Liam. He laughed. Speaking of, did you hear? He's working at Sterling and Company now. Junior position. My buddy works there. Says Liam brings his lunch in Tupperware and takes the bus. The man who once insisted on valet parking was taking public transportation. There was poetry in that. My book club had transformed too. What started as wine and gossip evolved into something unexpected, a small wine distribution business. Bethany had connections with local vineyards. Diane handled the legal structure, and I managed the books. Winner's Wines was born from a joke at my mother's garden party, but had already turned its first profit. We should send Liam a bottle, Diane suggested during our meeting. The cheap stuff. No, I said, he doesn't get space in our success story. Mom had finally stopped asking about grandchildren. Last week over lunch, she'd simply said, "You've been through enough, honey. Whatever makes you happy is enough for me." It was Thursday when Liam reappeared. Not a special Thursday, just a rainy one in November. I was reading on my couch when the doorbell rang at 9 p.m. Through the peephole, I saw him soaked, shabby, holding grocery store flowers already wilting from the rain. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. Evelyn. His voice cracked on my name. Can we talk? We're talking inside. I'm soaking. That sounds like poor planning on your part. He stood there, rain running down his face, looking nothing like the man who'd walked and whistling that midnight. This version was deflated, desperate, and somehow smaller. Brooke left me, he said, for a pharmaceutical executive. Apparently, I was just revenge against Robert. I said nothing, just watched the rain fall behind him. I'm working at Sterling and Company now, junior consultant. I make half what I used to. I take the bus, Evelyn. The bus. And I realize what I lost, what I threw away. You are stop. I held up my hand. Your realization came 18 months too late. I'm not interested in your hindsight clarity. Please, Evelyn. I know I destroyed everything, but maybe. There's no maybe, Liam. You didn't just cheat. You came home proud of it. You looked me in the eye and bragged about destroying our marriage. The rain picked up, soaking through his thin jacket. The grocery store flowers drooped further. I'll do anything, he said. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. What I want is for you to leave. He stood there another moment, rain and regret making him look almost sympathetic. Almost. Can I at least come in to dry off? No. I closed the door on his face, went to the kitchen, and made myself tea. Through the window, I watched him stand on my porch for another 7 minutes before finally walking away, shoulders hunched against the rain. My phone buzzed. "Robert, tennis tomorrow?" 9:30 a.m. Robert and I had become unlikely friends. Every Saturday, we played tennis at the club Liam could no longer afford. We were equally matched, both beginners, both laughing at our terrible serves, both healing from the same kind of betrayal. Liam showed up tonight. I texted back in the rain with gas station flowers. Brooke called me yesterday. They're living in a studio apartment now, fighting constantly. She blames him for ruining her career. He blames her for ruining his marriage. They deserve each other. No, Robert replied. They deserve worse, but each other will have to do. Saturday morning tennis became my new ritual. Robert and I would play badly, laugh loudly, and occasionally run into people from Liam's former company who'd whisper about us being revenge partners. "You know what's funny?" Robert said after a particularly bad serve. "They think we're together. Liam and Brooke are convinced we're having an affair." "Let them think it," I said, hitting the ball into the net. "Their paranoia is their problem. The best revenge really is living well," he said. "But living well while they watch from their studio apartment is even better." We both laughed. The kind of laugh that comes from surviving something terrible and finding joy on the other side. That evening, I made myself the perfect breakfast for dinner. 3 eggs scrambled with sharp cheddar, whole wheat toast with real butter, gourmet blend coffee with 2 sugars. The same meal I'd made Liam thousands of times, but now it was mine. I sat at my kitchen table, the same one where Liam had confessed his affair, where I'd planned his destruction, where I'd rebuilt my life. My phone sat silent beside me. No missed calls, no desperate texts, no one I needed to worry about. Everyone who mattered knew where to find me. Sarah called when she needed her sister. Mom dropped by unannounced with cookies. Chris brought coffee. Robert brought tennis balls and terrible jokes. I raced my coffee mug to the empty chair across from me, not in sadness, but in celebration. That chair had been Liam's, but now it was just furniture available for someone worthy or perfectly fine staying empty. The morning sun caught my wedding ring. Wait, no. I had sold that months ago, donated the money to the library's literacy program. My hand was bare now, unmarked free. I thought about the woman I'd been, waiting for 30 calls to be returned, accepting excuses disguised as explanations, making breakfast for someone who'd rather feast elsewhere. That woman had died at 1:58 a.m. on a Tuesday. This woman, the one drinking coffee alone on a Saturday night and loving it, she was born from betrayal but built from strength. She ran a library system, owned a wine business, played terrible tennis, and never waited for anyone to come home. My phone buzzed once. "Mom, dinner tomorrow?" "I'm making lasagna." "Your recipe?" I texted back. "No, mine's better." I smiled, finished my coffee, and cleaned my single plate. Outside, the rain had stopped. The air smelled clean, like possibility, like freedom, like a life that was finally completely mine. The best revenge hadn't been destroying Liam. That had been temporary satisfaction. The best revenge was becoming someone who'd never accept 30 ignored calls again. Someone who knew her worth before the coffee got cold. I turned off the kitchen light and headed to bed. My bed in my house in my perfectly imperfect life. Tomorrow would bring whatever it brought. But tonight, I was exactly where I needed to be, home. If this story of calculated revenge kept you hooked until the very end, hit that like button right now. My favorite part was when Evelyn served Liam his usual breakfast to Chris instead, watching his face turn 30 shades of red. What was your favorite moment? Drop it in the comments below. Don't miss more gripping stories like this. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.